travel to learn and care for other animals. It has its own kennel with a variety of animals to learn from. And it had a great team of professors that have been caring and supportive. Every day of being notified of the soon-to-be closure, there's been a new plan, which then falls through. I can't tell you how many times she's called in tears as another promise is broken. Clearly, there's a misconception by other schools that we visited that UMass is offering the vet tech students this great plan. The latest transition update states the tech program courses will be offered on Mount Ida campus. There'll be no student housing available. The general ed elective courses will need to be done online or at community colleges. So what kind of college experience is this? Does this sound like Mount Ida and UMass has our students' best interests at heart? This is not what my child signed up for. Someone needs to be held accountable and do what's right for these students. Our children were given scholarships and a commitment from the school. They deserve to be able to finish their program they started and leave with the degree they promised. My question is, what's next for my daughter? Who will have the answers and when? Time is running out.
Thank you. Laurel Collins.
Good morning. My name is Laurel Collins. I'm a resident of Woburn. This is a picture of my daughter, Julia, when she started the college search process during high school. She's right here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Our students are not, as Marty Meehan says, free agents, valued by colleges everywhere. They are not, per Barry Brown, the most popular students. They are the most pitied students. They are real people with families, many middle class, many students of color, many with disabilities, and many first-generation college students. I'm a vet tech parent. My daughter loves animals and had only 2 options in Massachusetts, where the school is AVMA certified and there is housing. She took a gap year to save money for school. She has no pathway, as she does not drive. Hundreds of kids in 8+ programs as of yesterday have no pathways, 220 plus in vet tech alone. I am an administrator of the 800-member Displaced Mount Ida Students and Parents group on Facebook. I learned of the initial UMass merger talks of a year ago from Marty Meehan on WBZ almost 2 weeks ago. Where is the paperwork about that proposal? Mount Ida can't get along with anyone. LaSalle, Regis. I wonder if that's because no one trusts them, as they have lied so often the past few weeks. What they say is meaningless. On April 6th, I learned of the closure on my Facebook feed. My daughter learned in an email. Shell-shocked, she came home for the weekend. Students with learning differences make up a relatively high percentage at Ida. Many need Section 504 and other accommodations. Ida is touted as an appropriate school by many special education schools, like my child's, New England Academy, and by public school guidance counselors advising special education students. Ida even hired a Bureau of Special Education's hearing officer as its disability services coordinator. I'm a special education advocate. Hundreds of us are deeply concerned about the students' emotional needs during this unexpected transition, that they are not being met. We are worried about depression, anxiety, and suicide. We see our kids falling apart, sleeping through 4 alarms and not wanting to get out of bed. Mount Ida has not made appropriate therapy arrangements. Only 2 days were offered. Something as simple as therapy dogs over the past 3 weeks and in the next weeks could help. We need a full financial audit, a completed Attorney General investigation, the legislative hearings scheduled by Senator O'Connor Ives. In 18 days, this cannot be a done deal. We need to do due diligence. We need to ensure every student has a reasonable and viable pathway. We can do better. We need to do better. There is no trust with either school. We want comparable, and none of us expected this nightmare to enter our lives. Thank you.
Connolly? Chris Connolly? Oh, sorry. I didn't see you.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for your time. My daughter is a freshman in the photography program, working for her BS, and she is devastated that she doesn't have an option. She is on an IEP, she has ADD, and we chose the school for the specialties that they offered in regards to helping kids with learning obstacles. It has been, I'm a single mother, it's been heart-wrenching, and we're just trying to find something that's going to work for her. We keep coming into roadblocks. There's nothing that matches what she signed up for. She's worked so hard, especially this last semester, to really get herself in a position where she can move forward, and the rug was just pulled out from underneath her. So we're stuck. We don't know where to go. We're staying up with everything, all the information that's coming our way, but as soon as we go in one path, it doesn't work out. So it's very tough to figure out what to look at, what to, spend our time doing. I work full time. I was lucky to get the day off today. But, she's going on visits on her own because I can't get there. And it's just very difficult. And I really hope that you guys can come up with a definitive plan that's going to work for all of these programs, not just photography, not just the vet tech, not just any one of them. Every student in the school needs a definitive path. And I just don't know how to express that anymore, and I hope you guys can come up with a plan that works for every kid. These families are, just like me, emotional about it. Our kids are emotional about it, and they're just trying to keep their heads above water. They've got to study for finals right now, and that's what they're trying to focus on top of all of this. So please, please, please find an answer. Thank you.
John Driscoll.
Good morning. My name is John Driscoll. I am a criminal justice major, currently enrolled at Mount Ida College. I'm a sophomore. Like so many students at Mount Ida, I chose the school for the beautiful campus, the relatively small size, and the people who greeted me as I stepped onto campus. I also chose Mount Ida because of the location. As a commuter, it was the perfect fit. It's 15 minutes from my home. Obviously, the school is going to close. The UMass Mount Ida sale will likely go through, and you, the board members of the Massachusetts Department of Higher Education, do have one say in that purchase. What can be done educationally on the newly sold property? I would like to formally propose a teach-out of all students currently enrolled at Mount Ida. This includes all students accepted to Mount Ida from the incoming freshman class to the current juniors going into their senior year and everyone in between. There are hundreds of students now left without options at other schools due to lack of credit transfers and in more than a few cases, lack of programs entirely. For example, Luke Robillard is a freshman majoring in commercial photography. Aside from Mount Ida, the next closest school that offers this major is Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, 802 miles away. Luke is one of 11 students in the BS program being overlooked by this transition. These students have been offered admittance into the UMass Dartmouth to receive a BFA in photography, which is very different from a BS in commercial photography. As an alternative, Mount Ida is suggesting that Luke and his classmates take a certificate course at the New England School of Photography. Again, not the same. Hopefully you can see by the backlash to the plan that it was not very well thought out. All of these stranded students have nowhere to go while the faculty and facilities they very clearly could utilize are there. I ask that you, the board of the DHE, use your authority to enforce the following. Allow all current and incoming students to finish their degrees at Mount Ida College campus because all the required facilities for these special majors you are being asked to consider are physically there. Allow all current students to maintain their class credits to avoid lawsuits as well as wasted time and money. Allow the University of Massachusetts schooling system to rename the school if they so choose, but promise that each student, that their degree will hold a value post-graduation. Suggest to the University of Massachusetts that they hire each faculty and staff member currently employed at Mount Ida College because, believe it or not, they are fully qualified in doing their job. Members of the board, I ask one final thing in closing. Do what is best for every student, not just the majority. Thank you for your time.
Is Ashley Falanga here? We were not sure she signed up, but we're not sure she's here. Ashley Falanga? Okay. Former Commissioner Richard Freeland, you're next.
I want to thank the board for this opportunity to speak.
Take it out.
I want to thank the board for this opportunity to appear. The Mount Ida situation is clearly urgent. I am deeply moved by the testimony that I have heard so far. I suspect everybody in this room is. I also have great confidence in the staff of the Department of Higher Education to deal with that aspect of the situation in a responsible way with the best interests of the students at heart. Given 3 minutes, I intend to address my remarks to the UMass acquisition of the Mount Ida campus. I want first to express my admiration for Chancellor Subaswamy, with whom I worked as commissioner. The job of any campus chancellor is to advance the interests of his institution, or her institution. There can be little question that a campus inside Route 128 will be helpful to Amherst. Swami is doing his job. But the responsibility of the UMass trustees is to build an excellent system of public research universities. They must determine whether the benefits of this initiative for Amherst are not outweighed by the negative impacts on other campuses. It is not clear to me that this question has been answered, or, to be honest, even asked.
That's right. That's right.
The duty of the Board of Higher Education is different still. The board has broad authority to oversee public higher education. They must assure that initiatives by any part of the system are more beneficial than harmful to public higher education as a whole. I would therefore encourage the board to examine Amherst plans in depth and to use both your statutory authority and your public platform to advance the best possible outcome for the system. I am ready to suspend judgment until the issues I have identified have been answered, but I have serious reservations. The college-going age cohort in Massachusetts is shrinking. Enrollments in our community colleges and state universities are in decline. Even at UMass, in-state undergraduate enrollments have been growing only slightly in recent years and have been level this past year. The last thing the public system needs is to add capacity to teach undergraduates, especially at the campus in the system least affected by demographic pressures, yet undergraduate enrollment expansion is one of Amherst's announced goals. The likely impact is the cannibalization of enrollments at UMass Boston.
That's right.
The likely impact is the cannibalization of enrollments at UMass Boston, at other public campuses in the area, and also at area private colleges and universities. Amherst has identified other uses for Mount Ida. It could house students doing internships, be a home for online programming or executive education, facilitate faculty interactions with businesses, and host events. On the surface, however, these potential benefits do not seem to justify a 75-acre, fully equipped suburban campus so far from public transportation that Mount Ida runs a shuttle to Newton Center. For students on internships, a more conveniently located residential facility would be cheaper and more effective. You certainly don't need a 75-acre campus for online programs, the whole point of which is that they can be produced anywhere and broadcast anywhere. And you don't need a 75-acre campus to hold the occasional event or meeting with potential collaborators. So I am deeply skeptical. I question whether this plan makes financial sense, even for Amherst, unless it provides a setting for degree-granting instruction. But as I noted, I am not here to render a judgment. I do believe very strongly, however, that until the questions I have raised about the systemic effects of this proposal have been carefully addressed and thoughtfully answered by both the UMass Board and the Board of Higher Education, this plan should not be allowed to go forward. Thank you.
That's right.
Is Brian Hernan here? Brian Hernan. Yes, great.
Microphone.
Turns out best to take the microphone out of this.
I'll hold it.
Just take it out, yeah. Okay. That's what it is.
Thank you. Thank you for having this hearing. Oops.
Sorry.
Thank you.
They want to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for having this hearing. Thank you for the first opportunity to express our feelings in a public way and hopefully get some resolution going forward. My wife and I, we live in Hanover. We have 3 children. Our oldest, Coleman, is a junior at Mount Ida in the A-Marks program, which is a very unique program. We chose Mount Ida after, we had a lot of different choices. We chose Mount Ida after careful consideration, including the financial situation we thought with the universities. We chose Mount Ida because he fit in here. And our son's worked very hard. He's excelled at school. He's had a very positive, life-changing experience, as college should be. And obviously we're devastated by the news. Out of nowhere, shell-shocked, blindsided, angry, and we still are. We know we have to move forward. And what would we like to have? We'd like to have what you're outlining here. It sounds good. We'd like a clear path for our son and obviously all the other students with no additional financial problems for us, no additional cost, no loss of credits. I gotta say that the transition thus far has been very confusing, chaotic. There's a lot of people obviously trying to do the right thing, but it's been very frustrating, very discouraging. As others have said, one day it's great, the next day it's a disaster. So we would like to see some better clarity of path forward. We want to make sure specifically on UMass Dartmouth that seems to be stepping up, that the programs that are transferred to UMass Dartmouth actually are transferred in their entirety, including the faculty. There's been a lot of back and forth as to how that's going to occur. We also want an understanding of what actually happened here, some transparency. There's been zero transparency, as you know, from Mount Ida and the Board of Trustees. We need to know what happened so we don't make the same mistake again. We could put our son in another small private school in Massachusetts, and who knows that it's not going to happen again. We I guess along with that, we'd like some degree of accountability. People be held accountable for what happened here. Who is watching out for us? I think it's you guys. I'm not sure if it's not the Board of Higher Education. Who is watching out for us? We need that, not only for what's transpired. A lot of people are being hurt here, obviously. People do make mistakes. We recognize that. But you have to hold people accountable for those who are not doing the right thing. I guess in closing, I was going to say we do appreciate the UMass document fees. That does seem to be a good option for some. We hope that is supported, and a lot of students can take advantage of that. And that's it. Thank you.
Taylor Higgins.
Hi, my name is Taylor Higgins, and I am here today to discuss with you the closure of Mount Ida College. I am currently a freshman at Mount Ida. I am also hard of hearing. I have EVA, which is a progressive hearing loss. Throughout my life, I have been told to get my education completed as soon as I can, because I could become completely deaf at any time. Since I was a sophomore at North High School, I knew that I wanted to go to Mount Ida College. I applied and was accepted to eight different schools. I looked at some of them, but they did not feel right to me. When I visited Mount Ida College on 3 different occasions, I knew that it was the right fit for me. One of the reasons I liked Mount Ida was that it was a small, confined campus, and I felt safe in my surroundings. Working with Joan Barron and the accessibility services at Mount Ida, I have been given the opportunity to work closely with an amazing team of interpreters and professors. They were seamlessly able to accommodate my schedule as well as housing. The closing of Mount Ida College has been devastating. It has impacted me personally, as I have found an amazing team of interpreters to work with. And I don't want to lose them due to a change of college venue. I am considering one school, however, the tuition is significantly higher than that of Mount Ida. My family does not have a lot of money, and I will be relying on student loans to continue my education. Because of this, I would have to pay back a significantly greater amount than I would have if I stayed at Mount Ida College. When we found that Mount Ida was closing at the end of the semester, chaos among students and faculty ensued. The semester did not continue as previously planned. Some classes were canceled and others did not have finals. Instead of looking forward for the end of the year, we were stressing about where we are going in the fall. As I have said before, the closing of Mount Ida College has been devastating. However, I feel that we need to remember the institution as it was, which was a wonderful and uplifting college that has given us so much instead of discrediting it for how it ended. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak in front of you today.
Laura Gilson.
Good morning. I'm already going to start. My name is Laura Gilson. I'm here on behalf of my daughter, Melissa Gilson. She wanted to be here in person, but her final for her study abroad trip got rescheduled from last Tuesday to today, because last Tuesday she had to attend a college fair at her college to find a new college. That is wrong and ironic on so many levels. I'm going to go into her comments. This photo above was taken when she was in Ireland with her study abroad trip. She was able to take that trip because of her amazing professor who organized it. A trip that Mount Ida gave her the opportunity to take. A trip that gave her to see the whole new world and learn a lot more about herself. Mount Ida is more than a school, it's a home. a place where she feels at ease, a place where she belongs and fits in. In high school, she had trouble fitting in and never really had any friends. When she went to IDA, she found that group where everybody can be themselves and who they are. A place where there's no judgment on who you are as a person or what your background is. A place where everybody can fit in. Mount Ida allowed the students to branch out, discover things about themselves that they never knew before. Mount Ida was special more than any other school in the New England area. The professors at Mount Ida are amazing. They got to know you as a person and not just as a student. You have a relationship with them outside the classroom. Her 2 professors became her other mothers. I got to admit, I'm a little jealous. You could feel that you could go to the professors for anything, to talk about whatever is happening in your life. Her 2 professors also lost their job, and instead of trying to find a job for them, they are trying to find a path for the kids, for their students. They are focusing on them. UMass Dartmouth does not offer her early education program, so her professors are helping her to work with other colleges to find what could fit for her. They are truly amazing, and they are worried more about the students. I chose Mount Ida based on the relationship the students had with their professors. I chose Mount Ida because the students could be themselves. I chose Mount Ida because I fairly belong somewhere and finally fit in. I chose Mount Ida, not any other school, and now it has been taken away from me. And how fair is that to me and any other student? Thank you for your time.
Bridget Horrigan.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Bridget Horrigan, and I was an incoming freshman in the Interior Architecture and Design program at Mount Ida. I learned of the closure on Facebook 3 days after I had chosen all my classes for the fall. This past couple weeks has been a whirlwind of college tours in multiple states, writing new essays, and submitting applications. The closure of the school has caused enormous amounts of stress to countless families. I feel that there are a few main problems that need to be addressed about the deal between Mount Ida and UMass. The utter lack of transparency about Mount Ida's financial issues and about the discussions between both LaSalle and UMass is a major concern. There is conflicting information from both institutions, leaving it impossible to know who to trust. When did the talks with UMass begin, and why were solutions for the students not being discussed at that time? Who will benefit if the current deal goes through? Will the president and board of trustees be given any financial rewards? This has cost huge amounts of time and money to both current and incoming students and their families in order to find comparable educations. Mount Ida has done very little to make this any easier. The current deal does not meet the needs of all the parties involved. Mount Ida gave the students personal information to UMass without permission. Some of the students in the incoming class are still minors, and for most, UMass is not a viable option. The solution, I believe, is for UMass Amherst to pay fair market value for the Mount Ida campus, which has been assessed for at least $132 million by the town of Newton. Once the debt of $54 million has been paid, all the remaining money can be used to pay for comparable institutions with comparable curriculums and financing for all current and incoming students. The money could also cover necessary administrative costs and ensure appropriate severance pay for all staff. This plan would benefit all the people suffering from the poor decisions made by the management at Mount Ida. Thank you.
Jeffrey Marshall.
Good morning, Commissioner Santiago, members of the board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Jeffrey Marshall. I'm an associate professor of Art Foundation at Mount Ida College. I want to make it clear that I am not speaking for the faculty. I'm here as an individual, although many of my comments may echo what they say. The fact that Mount Ida College is closing is sad. The way it is closing is tragic and disgraceful. I am sure that no one intended for the grief, the sadness, the anger and confusion that is being caused by this to happen, but those things are certainly happening. It was wrong for Mount Ida College not to tell students, faculty, and staff that the college was likely to close, or at least likely for a major upheaval by the end of the year. This lack of communication has prevented all parties from thoughtful planning of their future. This lack of communication was certainly negligent. But the fact that a month ago, I received a signed contract for next year was cruel. I have not been allowed, and no faculty has been allowed, to plan for the future, even though that future was known by Mount Ida College and the UMass system.
Shame.
It is a responsibility of UMass and, by extension, the state of Massachusetts to honor these contracts. UMass and the state of Massachusetts have a responsibility that any deal that settles the debt of Mount Ida College should include severance that covers the contracts, signed contracts that we received 1 month ago. I am very happy that my students are starting to find some solutions and some paths forward. And the faculty and staff are making it their #1 mission to plan for the future of their students. That's our job. I am a professional. I taught yesterday, I'll teach tomorrow, and I'll teach till the college closes. I'm a professional. I made a promise to my students that I would educate them, and I will keep that promise. It is time for UMass, Mount Ida College, and the state of Massachusetts to keep their promise. You may have heard that faculty are transitioning to other positions. I ask that you bring faculty to the table and ask them their experience. I can guarantee you that many faculty will not have jobs in the fall, and likely no jobs next